Hey everybody, this is welcome to the witching hour. Yes, that hour of the day when the veil is thin and magic happens. I've got some astrological magic for you today. Proud to say, my dear friend, celebrity astrologer Kyle Thomas. He is globally recognized pop culture astrologer who's been featured on Access Hollywood, E! Entertainment, NBC, ABC Television, Good Morning America, The Today Show, Cosmo, Entertainment Weekly, and People Magazine. But let me introduce you to him. Hi, Kyle. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It is always a delight to connect with your magical wisdom.
Ah, thank you. As it is yours. It's a mutual admiration society. And again, astrology is my not good sport. It's too mathematical or too many numbers for me. So what you do, I bow down. I bow down.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's one of the things that I love about it the most because I feel like one of the things when it's certain modalities of spirituality, we have more intuitive basis to it, and we can sort of go with our feelings. With astrology, we do have to break down the charts and look at the angles in order to look at the patterns that we're likely to experience. So that's just one of the things that drew me to it.
That's great. So you're intuitive anyway. I see that. So is that how you just kind of found that path? How did you find?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I grew up in the Midwest, and so I had a very religious family, very traditional upbringing, and I've always been fascinated by myth and humanity and civilization and history. And I also had this like deep burning desire to understand more about myself and my place in the world, as well as my relationships to other people. And so I was just really drawn to astrology, especially because of its, ties to thousands of years of civilization. And it just became one of these passions that, like, literally since I was 8 years old, I just couldn't get enough of it. And then as I developed and studied and read thousands of books, I found that there is an ability to blend some intuition in with it and to use trust your feelings and tap into psychic ability and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, I'm charting patterns that I have been able to look through history and through books and in my life that I can then relate to other people.
That's amazing. Again, it boggles my mind how, again, it's been done for thousands of years and how they figured it out. They didn't have computers. They didn't have in the accuracy of it amazes me. So now that we are like into November and we have just a little bit left of the year, do you have any want to wrap up our year for us? What it kind of looks like? It's been kind of a tumultuous year. Is that
Uh,
did they say that in the stars?
well, here's the thing is that I feel like it has not been as tumultuous of a year as some ones that have been previously. But yes, of course, we're seeing a lot of transitions and changes. And more often than not, we find that a lot of these transitions and changes in global evolution are tied to eclipses and the way that the planets are interacting. So if they're in a positive conversation in the sky, our lives are going to reflect that as well. And so we're going to have more harmony and more equilibrium and more peace. But recently this year, we actually saw the North Node, which is it's a tie to destiny when what's coming into the collective consciousness move into Aries. And so we have this duality between the nodes in Aries and in Libra, which are the placements of war and peace. And so these kinds of energies have obviously been very notably seen within the past couple months. And the nodes are still going to be there until the beginning of 2025. So this storybook is going to, on a karmic level, be playing out through our lives, throughout society, through present civilization as well. And these are the times when we have to balance these energies in order to find a new way of operating with them. But in the recent years, I mean, 2020 and in 2021, we had a lot of conjunctions of really powerful planets. And that's what triggered the pandemic and other transitions. And it's there's more to come. I mean, that's as we go into 2024, we're going to be seeing some other big rocky energy. But I do think ultimately, the more that we are evolving as a society and our economy and spirituality, I think that we'll be able to hopefully find more of a place of balance and peace as we understand each other and ourselves better.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the rub. Understanding each other, listening to each other. I'm the Libra side of the thing, so it's like, can we just get along? So it's interesting. So like, if I pulled out a history book of the world and you
Yeah.
pulled out an astrology chart of the world, they would kind of go hand in hand, right? Where the planets were, where we were in peace and war and success and failure.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I love to do, whether I'm making predictions on a global level or for you, and talking about the kinds of patterns that we can experience, that we're likely to experience. And this is one thing that I think you and I have talked about before, is that the thing that makes astrology so famous, I guess, is that it's predictive. People want predictions, and people come to you for predictions all the time too, because we have different modes of understanding and these different lenses that we interpret the energy and the transitions we're experiencing. But beyond it just being predictive, it's also productive. We can use it in a way to create our lives and to get more of what we're looking for. And we can certainly dive into that in a bit. But I mean, what are you feeling about for the end of the year as well?
Again, that's what's really funny is that my witch side always trumps my psychic side, and I'm so like, if you don't like what it is, change it and shift it. That's
Yeah,
why I'm excited to talk to you about how to use astrology to manifest what you want and move into it. So I think we are going through some like chaotic times, kind of
yeah,
chaos. The way I work, I'm working with a lot of dragon energy right now because I think we need it. It's a strong, powerful crossroads energy because there's no solid ground is what it feels like to me.
yeah. Well, I mean, Uranus is the planet of chaos and the future and rebellion. It's been in Taurus, which is an earth sign, and that's been taking place since 2018. So we've been seeing everything that Taurus rules all over the place. And so, that's the economy, that's, the physical earth, the environment. We're seeing these things really become even more dynamically pronounced and in need of change. And that's the key here, is that with astrology, yes, I can say XYZ, these things are going to happen, but we also have free will, we have free choice, and we're supposed to, I believe, engage with the energy in a productive and healthy way so that we can ultimately grow and achieve and be fulfilled and make the world a better place, rather than being controlled by astrology. And I think that's kind of something that you might, uh, you know, practice a little bit maybe too, is that, like, I feel like rather than just being controlled by a prediction, or living like we don't have the ability to change our path, that's a really defeating sort of energy sometimes. I can't live like that. So that's why I've really had to develop this new mode of working with astrology.
I love that. And again, and that's always been my issue because I don't, prediction wise, that again, my witch side, my free will side trumps. I
Yeah.
could say, oh my God, Kyle, when you walk out of the house, a bird is going to poop on your head. I am such a good
Right.
psychic. I know when you're going to walk out. I know when the bird's going to fly over. I know when the bird's going to poop. The bird's going to poop on your head. I could say, why don't you wear a hat? Wear a hat
Yeah.
because this bird's going to poop.
Totally.
And that to
Yeah.
me is how you work with what you have.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, another way that I also, work with astrology is it's kind of like cosmic weather in a sense. And so if we're looking at the way that the planets are talking and conversing and connecting at any given time, we're going to be able to see that there are going to be certain frequencies and energetic forces that are going to be activated. So that's why when I say, oh, there's a really lucky day, this is a great day for love, or this is a great day to sign a contract, or to go out and mingle and hopefully meet someone, because those planets are going to be producing that energetic flow for us. But if we also just sit back and expect everything to happen to us, things don't necessarily work like that. And so, again, going back to my predictions, whether I'm making that for a person that is in Europe, or a celebrity, or whoever I'm working with, that's why I truly really try to empower people to be like, okay, love is going to be here. So what are you going to do to put yourself in the position to make more love, or to find that soulmate connection?
Hmm.
Because if you're just swiping on Tinder and sitting, on your couch and just expecting to someone to knock on your door, first off, that's creepy, and two, that doesn't happen. So that's why we got to use it to really strategize how we want to build our life.
Right, right. That doesn't the mind, body, spirit. You need the body. You need to get off the couch.
Exactly.
Though,
Yeah.
though I know one person who sat on the couch and waited and found love. It was a plumber came over to
Well,
fix.
okay. All right. All right. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
You know, that's rare. That's rare. So with this, what do you see coming again, either for the end of this year, how we wrap it up, how we best do with what you see that's coming?
Yeah. Well, the big thing that I do want to mention here is that starting on November 25th, which is right where we're at here, is Mercury is actually going to be entering a phase called pre-shadow. So it means that the planet is going to be slowing down because we are going to have a Mercury retrograde taking place in Capricorn and Sagittarius throughout December. And so December is going to be very slow for us. And even though we have a lot of the other planets that are waking up and speeding up, Mercury is a part of our daily personal and professional lives because Mercury rules communication and business and connection and the mind and travel and all of those kinds of things. So that's why I really hope that everyone has kind of tied up all of their big, plans and their professional endeavors and all of their contracts prior to this point in time. Now, Mercury is officially going to retrograde. Let me pull up the exact date. It's on December 13th. So you still have a little bit of a window in time if you need to sign that contract, you need to launch that project or whatever it be. But just know that it really is the sooner that you do this, the better it is in your favor. I also do want to say, what do you know about retrogrades? I mean, do people ask about retrogrades
They
for
do,
you?
and I go, I'm not an astrologer. Call my child. But what is so funny to me is that that's the one thing everybody knows or worries, or they don't
Yeah.
know anything about astrology. They don't know planets this and there, but is Mercury retrograde? That
Yeah.
seems like the big evil or something.
Well, and this is again, I'm always trying to utilize astrology in a way to make it practical and apply it to people's lives rather than feeling like we have to be controlled by these cosmic forces. Now, do I think that there are cosmic forces at play? Of course, absolutely. But I also think that because we are, incarnated at this point in time, we have free will. We also have power of our own to engage with this energy. We can also make wise decisions in how we interact with it. So going back to what I was saying about Mercury retrograde is because it rules communication and travel and business and the mind. We know that when the planet is moving backwards in the sky, it represents that those things are going to need to be reviewed and we're going to need to go back and change our perspective on things. And this is why usually during Mercury retrogrades we hear from people from the past, projects from the past come back to us, situations come back, and we're being given an opportunity to again review that. And sometimes I think that because we as human beings are always like, go, 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 like, where are we going? What's happening? Like, let's move forward. I want that next thing. I want that next boyfriend, girlfriend. I want that next job. Like, we're always trying to think about what's coming forward. Sometimes we lose track of the present moment and we lose, it's like diamonds in the sand. And so I feel like what happens sometimes during a retrograde is that you walk back on that path and you're like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have thrown this away. This was important and beautiful for me. And that gives you the perspective and the time to be like, okay, how do I reintegrate this? Whether that's that relationship or that job or that project you might have lost. Again, you do have to be conscious about how you are going to engage with that because you can't just wait for it to just come back. And this is again, when I get questions about exes, I'm sure you get them too, all the time from people like, is my ex going to come back? Again, you're waiting on someone to do something. So if you want that ex back, you can use that energy to reach out and say hi, or ask them to grab a coffee or a drink, or just say, I'm thinking about you. And that gives it the portal, the opening to hopefully enter back in. But if they don't, then that's your reason to move on so that you can find that closure, find that healing, and then ultimately proceed on a better path. So
Right. And not sit there waiting.
yeah, exactly. So, but that's the big thing in December is like, get your stuff done. We're gonna have more time to enjoy the holidays because when Mercury retrograde happens during the holidays, it can represent that like flights are canceled and things get delayed and there's stagnation. But the cool thing about one of my tricks with Mercury retrograde is that if you go on a vacation and you just focus on being like in the moment and enjoying pleasure, that's what you should be doing, because there's things are not going to proceed naturally anyways. So, just really just enjoy the end of this year, reflect on the things that happened so far, and then get ready for a pretty active and intense year in 2024. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So, and you had mentioned something about eclipses. We have eclipses coming, and how do those occur?
Yeah, so we get eclipses roughly about every 6 months or so because they exist on a polarity. And so we began having eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio at the end of 2021. And then we had the final eclipse on that axis. There were 7 of them on October 28th. So that just happened obviously like over a month ago. And we're dealing with the fallout of that energy. And that storybook that you were experiencing in your life since 2021 until obviously now at the end of 2023 has reached a conclusion. It has reached a place where we are now proceeding to look at other karmic lessons. And now, as I was saying, we have the eclipses that are taking place in Aries and Libra. So it's a new set of ideas and themes and karmic lessons that we're experiencing. Now, solar eclipses always bring big, major new beginnings. And we had one in Libra on October 14th, which is right by your birthday.
Yes.
So this means that for you, you are in such a big year, one of the most important major years of your entire life, with lots of new beginnings, lots of exciting opportunities, new projects, you're traveling a lot. Like there's just going to be so much of that kind of energy for you. And you're probably going to be bringing in new partners, whether that's like business partners, producers, those kinds of things typically are going to be on the radar, whether or not they've already happened. But you will be experiencing that certainly within 2024. But yeah, so we've been seeing new beginnings happening because of the solar eclipse, then because of the endings that took place with the lunar eclipse in Taurus. Those endings are coming in here for us. And, lunar eclipses are very emotional. They bring breakthroughs or breakdowns or endings or turning points. We won't have any more eclipses in Taurus or Scorpio until the 2030s. So that's then. But we are going to be having eclipses in the springtime of 2024. And there's going to be an eclipse hold on, let me pull up exactly. We have an eclipse on, yes, I was right, March 25th, which is going to be a lunar eclipse in Libra. Lots of turning points in relationships, a lot of culminations in relationships, marriages, unions, soulmate connections, but there's also going to be a lot of breakups too. So divorces, all of those kinds of energies are going to be taking place a lot in the springtime. And then we have the Great American Eclipse taking place on April 8th. I just did an interview about this for Good Morning America, just kind of getting ahead. And that's going to be really profound because it's going to be actually moving completely over the United States. And so it's going to be really exciting to watch. I don't know, did you get to see the Ring of Fire eclipse in October?
No.
Well, this one's going to be even more profound.
Is it? That's great.
Yeah.
So how is that? So it's America. We could see it here. How is that going to affect us as a country or individually?
Well, the thing is, it's taking place in Aries. And so Aries as an energy is all about me, my ego, my ideas, my plans, what I desire at the expense of other people. But the fact that it's literally going over the United States, there's going to be a lot more mentality of that. It's about it's going to, again, go because the Aries and the Libra modality and the axis is all about me versus you, or me and you. So if you work together as a team, you're going to be able to unite that. But the key is with Aries energy is because it's so independent and so fiery. It's cardinal fire. It's the first zodiac sign. It is all about I want to grow. I want to be. I am. And if your partners and other people aren't meeting you there, they either are let go or they become the enemy. And so that's why, I mean, especially with the elections coming up, it's going to be turmoil. I mean, it's just, and then I don't want to predict that, but it's like literally we're going through this because that's the push-pull energy that we've been feeling for so long, but now it's karmically being activated, Yeah. And then we're going to have an eclipse in Pisces in September, where is it? September 18th. So that's going to be another culmination. Pisces rules spirituality and healing, but also deception and shady schemes and enemies and things like that. And then we have also an eclipse on it's in Libra, or no, it's in Libra on October 2nd, and that's again new beginnings, new relationships. So these are just the karmic themes because we have a lot of other things that are going to be taking place in 2024. But these are the things that are going to be the kinds of moments that we like really look back on, and that's why I encourage everyone at this point in time to reflect on really what's been happening over the last couple of months in your life, because we're going to see the next chapters, the next stories of these things play out in 2024. So hopefully they've been good for you.
Yeah. So we look at our stuff, we look, okay, this was good, this was good, this was good. Maybe this wasn't so good. So what do we then, is that how we choose to manifest?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I feel like the way that we, even just drawing it to like witchcraft, which is, I think, something that I would love for you to kind of like elaborate. So tell me how you manifest or other people manifest around a new moon versus a full moon. And then I will talk about how I use it astrologically.
Okay. The new moon for us is going inside. That's the inner work. That's looking at what it is I want. The waxing moon is when we're adding. That's when you would like ask for a raise or anything like that. The full moon to us is it's you go into gratitude, go into asking for what, creating. The waning moon is when we release. That's when I start a diet. That's when you should quit smoking along that. So it's like adding. The moon's getting bigger, we add. The moon's getting smaller, we release. We go inside on the dark moon and up. In oversimplified, that's how I look at it, witchcraft wise.
Would you like suggest people do like candle work, or I mean, what are certain kinds of, I guess, rituals that you think would be
Yes,
helpful during these times?
I do candles for everything because again, we're working with all the elements there. They've got the fire and the air right there. It's a chance to even do a small, short meditation or breathing, looking into the camel to manifest. Because in my witchcraft world, everything is like how I'm going to do a spell. I teach spell crafting and I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
And it's creation, working, dispatch. If you take away the witchy words, it's mind, body, spirit of psychology. Same thing. If the 20,000 psychology, self-help, with or without spirituality, we
Yeah.
have to create it in our head to get to if the people who think they can't do anything really can't. The people who think they can conquer the world are the people who do.
Yeah.
Mine. So whether it's you're carving a candle to get that thought process or the right herbs, whatever you're doing, you're creating it.
Yeah.
Body is, you do have to get off. You have to take action. You do things, the candle working, the chant, the
Yep.
meditations. And the spirit, that to me is the battery that makes things happen. You could do that lots of ways. You could do that through your faith, traditional church, go to temple. Prayer is faith.
Totally.
It's a battery. You could do it through new age affirmations and vision boards. You could do it idle, candles and herbs and oils and chants. But anybody could look at anything they've done in their life that they've accomplished. They believe they could do it and that they deserved it. They got off the couch and took action. And then they had some form of faith, spirit, or magic behind it.
Yeah.
The stuff we haven't quite done, one or two of those things need tweaking. You
Yeah.
don't really see it that you could have it or deserve it. You haven't taken the action to get it or the magic. So that, and again, and I don't understand planets. That's your job, but that's how I work with the moon and with manifesting or creating or spell crafting or whatever you want to call it.
Well, the thing that I love about that is that what we do with that sort of idea and the thematics and the patterns that you have really illustrated for us is we apply that to actual moon cycles.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, when we're thinking about astrology of the new moon, we think of that as certainly that place of new beginning, and it's sort of it's a portal. It's like an open door that you open, and you take your action and you step through it and you make things happen. So, like, for instance, if it's a new moon that falls in Leo or Libra, which focus a lot on like romance or relationships, on a collective level, those are good times to put yourself out there to date or to connect with people or things like that. And then certainly in each person's natal chart, if we do have an opportunity to, meet with an astrologer, meet with me, or look at your horoscope or anything like that, you're going to know that you're going to have more time to date at that time, or to improve your relationship, or whatever that be. The same would be applied to anything to do with money or career or any sort of work related situation. Again, if we're looking at not just the collective level, like Taurus rules money or Capricorn rules career, like these kinds of things are going to be great times to initiate that. Like, and again, going back to tangible actions that we're thinking about during a new moon cycle, we would think about, going to the love angle. It's like, I'm going to download an app and go on 5 dates and try to meet someone new. Or if you're in a relationship, you're going to think about, like, okay, how can I build more love with my partner and really connect with them in a way that's going to be building love and attracting more intimacy or sex or passion or just having fun together. And then the same thing with, like, the moons that are either in your natal chart or in the certain collective energy of the zodiac that deal with money, etc. Is, well, you look for a new job, or you raise your rates, or you advertise your services. You put and apply that energy. The thing that I would like to also say too, though, is that in witchcraft, from at least from what I've gathered, usually everyone links a new moon and a full moon each month together. And I do think that cycles like that certainly can exist, but on an astrological point of view, it isn't that way. So, for instance, a new moon takes place at some point in the year. 6 months later, a corresponding full moon is going to take place. So that's actually how you manifest with astrology, is that you look back at the actions that you took in regards to love or whatever was being ruled by that new moon. And then at the full moon, you have that turning point where you can see the culmination of your action. And the thing that I always teach with people too is that if you're not getting what you want from that full moon, it means that the actions that you took were not effective. One of the examples that I always use with people is, because I've had this happen many times, where I did a reading with someone, a celebrity or a friend or whoever it be, and I like mapped out, like, this is a great new moon for your love life. And so I was like, put a lot of attention there. And then 6 months later, I get a call from them and they're like, I'm still single. Why am I still single if you said that there was going to be love here? And I was like, well,
Your
what
fault.
actions were you taking at that new moon? And are you changing your path? Are you taking different actions? And they were like, oh, well, let me look back. And they were like, oh, I was having sex with my ex the whole time. And I was like, well, that was not putting you in the position of finding new love. So that's why you're still single. You know what I mean? So again, it's really about, like, seeing what's going to stick, what's going to work for you, and rather than wishing for something to happen, it's really about being intentional with all of your action according to the cycles. Does that make sense?
Completely. And again, it works exactly hand in hand with what I do. Again, I don't understand the astrological part of it, but exactly. So, but it also sounds, because I don't have an astrology brain, kind of overwhelming. So if you look at your chart every day, so say I'm going to come to you. You did my chart. So
Yeah.
say somebody's going, okay, I really want to work. I want to know when my right planets are and when I should do what.
Yes.
They come to you, they give you their birth date and whatever you need to know, like that. So do they tell you they want a goal? I want you to look at love, or you just kind of look at everything?
It depends. So, for instance, one of the packages that I do with clients is I do have, like, a full yearly overview, and I will already pinpoint, like, okay, this is a really good moon cycle for their relationships, or this is a really good moon cycle for improving their career. Because, I mean, if you think about, like, the vast majority of the stuff that people at least ask me is, like, everyone wants to know about love or money. They're like,
Me too. It's just
yeah, it's they always want to know one, or like, or both. And so that's why, having done this for so long, and I've sort of figured out just pulling that together right away. The other thing, though, is I do think that it's important is that if someone does have specific questions, that we do actually know that beforehand. Because the thing about being an astrologer is that I have to do the math. I have to look up the planets. I have to look up where things are. And it's not just me being like, oh, I think that you look green right now. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just I don't have that particular skill, whereas you might. And you're brilliant at it, I'm sure. Like that's your kind of energy, you know? Whereas to me, that's not something that I can do. I really do need to prep all of my readings in, like I said, just like like a map. So that's why, like, if someone's having more troubles with like health, or they're really worried about their relationship, etc., it's just like I really just have to dive into it. But um I mean, I do sessions with people like on a monthly basis. Sometimes if they're really going through a big thing, and like what we do, sometimes we'll do it like once a week. But it's about like really being focused on what we're looking at, rather than just being like, tell me what's going on in my life.
That's fascinating. I think I
Yeah.
need you. I know I need you. Okay, but okay, when you're working with somebody, so you have their chart, you have who they are. How
Yeah.
much is the natal chart is kind of how they're born, right? So does that mean you're looking at traits and the good stuff and the less than good stuff like that, and then where the planets are then?
Well, yes, and I think that ultimately the natal chart is, I find them beautiful. It is a work of art. It is a work of the cosmos, and I think that, I mean, everyone has a natal chart. Every country has a natal chart. Every puppy, every business, every relationship, like everything has a point of origin, and that's what it ultimately is. And so, by looking at that, we know the blueprint of what the composition of this individual is. So, like, for instance, I think this would be a good time to kind of talk about like yours first, for instance. So
Oh,
you gave me your birth time, your
mhm.
birth date, and your place of birth.
Yes,
And
it is.
what I do is then I either put that into diagnostic app on my phone or on my computer or the internet, whatever. Anyone can do this, but being able to interpret it is what is really important to have an astrologer, because yes, knowing your big three, which is your rising sign, sun sign, and your moon sign, can be very helpful, but a lot of people don't know how to actually engage with that. But as we pulled together your natal chart, and your
Okay.
natal chart is, the thing that I love about it is that it sort of evolves as you grow older and you mature, because the symbols and the energies that they were existing when you were younger, ultimately some of them can become stronger, or they can become phased out because you work through them, or you become more aware of them. Like the sun sign, everybody always usually knows their sun sign. That's your date of birth, and that's tied to your life force and the energy that's really strong there. And the sun sign gets stronger as you get older, because you become more confident in who you are. You're confident in your skin. You're like, okay, this is me.
I'm a Libra.
Whereas, yeah, yes, you're a Libra, and I love Libra energy so much,
Mm.
and that's why these eclipses, as I was saying before, are going to be really strong for you. But your rising sign is where the sun was rising on the eastern horizon, the moment that you took your first breath. And so, from esoteric astrology, we say that that was the moment that your soul entered your body, and so you're like, oh my God, I'm alive, I'm here. And so at that moment, that really defines how people perceive you in your lifetime. It's important in relationships, and your we call it like the social mask. It's tied to your identity, your body to a degree. And for you, you're a Sagittarius rising. And so when you're looking at any horoscope prediction, it's really important to not only read for your sun sign, because your sun sign is always going to be
Yes.
have a seed of truth. The
Yeah.
sun is the greatest force in the solar system. All of the planets march around it, and so we can't ignore that. And that's why I say, some people that like they think that you don't need to like deal with the sun sign, and I'm like, you're wrong. Like you do, you have to, you can't ignore it. um, so that's something to think about. But then reading for your rising sign, and understanding the patterns in conjunction. So like, let's say for instance, for Libra, we're going through a big period around relationships. Well, for let's say for Sagittarius, there's a lot of energy about you being in creative business partnerships. So then by reading them in tandem, you would understand that that's what's going on.
Yeah.
And because you
That's
get
what's
the full
going
perspective.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, yeah, so that's
Mm.
a big key thing here. And then your moon sign is very significantly important to the internal life
Oh,
And so it's tied to your soul. It's very important in intimate relationships and how we emote and all of that. So by looking at that, we can get a very great, overview of everything that is happening.
what's my
Then your moon sign is in Aquarius. I have a moon in Aquarius too.
what?
And so, again, like that's the big three. That's Leo, stop it. My puppy is getting all excited.
Oh, that's
Um
good.
he's like, I want to play. So yeah, so we look at those as the big three, but again, you can break down all of different placements you have. We can look at all the way the angles are actually interacting in your chart. And again, that's what gives you a full perspective about what makes you so beautiful and different than any other Libra or anyone that's ever existed. Like that's just yeah. So that's what I do. That's
Thank
all
you.
that's yeah.
All
So
right, I love it. So okay, some people come to you, and you're going to give them whether they do a week at a time, a month at a time, a year overview. So it would be like this is a good money time for you, or this is a good love time for you.
exactly.
You
Yeah.
give challenges, and this is a tougher time for this. Pay attention,
Yeah.
just like when you have the eclipses coming and the Mercury retrograde, the almighty.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I mean, on one level, I mark it out for the entire world. Like for instance, I've already released on my Patreon all of my predictions for 2024,
Mm,
and so people can already be planning ahead and looking at the best times and all of that. But then we also, on an individual level, we can understand well then there are certain times that could be really challenging. Like let's say Saturn, which is the planet of hardship, is opposed to your sun. Like anybody that has a Virgo sun or rising or moon is having a really tough period right now,
mm,
and they will until 2026.
ee.
And same thing with Pisces. That's also a big. They're going through a lot of transitions and having to step into this next phase. But again, I mean, even if there is a challenge that's there for them, I want to have people think about it from a way of productivity
Mhm.
and strength and perseverance, because that's the thing that Saturn does. The more the energy that you put into working towards something, the more that you're going to receive.
I
So
love that.
even
Okay,
tarot.
speaking of your Patreon, I'm gonna have you come back right at the beginning of the year so we could talk about
Yeah,
next
yeah, yeah. I'd
year
love
as
to.
well. But for right now, I know everybody is as intrigued as I am. So tell people everywhere they can find you, your website, your social media, your Patreon, all your major A-list media that you do.
Well, my website is kylethomasastrology.com, and I am releasing all sorts of predictions there. I released the new month right before the new month, but if you want to actually to read further into the future, that's why you would join my premium membership, because I send all sorts of exclusive predictions there that I don't ever release, and they get access to everything. They get even time to chat with me one on one if they'd like. And so that is a linked from my website and on all of my horoscopes. You can always click that there. And then my Instagram is Mr. Kyle Thomas, so MrKyleThomas. I interact a lot there. I have threads, but I haven't been really using it very much. And then I also do release stuff on Facebook, but Instagram is the main place to probably
And you
interact
put
with me.
lots of astrological information for people on Instagram. It's fabulous.
Yeah, I try. That's my main platform that I really engage with, and I love it, and I think it's my favorite. So
Yes.
that's there to find me.
All right. So you guys like him, follow him, hire him. Really,
I'm here.
it's magic. This is astrological magic from a very magical man. So could we have like, is there one of his predictions for next year you can give us, whether it's a fun celebrity one or a world one or something fun?
Well, I mean, we're going to have Jupiter continue to be in Taurus until the end of May. So that's a time where there's going to be a lot more focus on bringing prosperity and abundance into our lives, and certainly on a global level. The problem with that, though, is that Jupiter is going to unite with Uranus in Taurus. So I'm really thinking that there's going to be a lot of people that are like winning big on a global banking level, but then there's also people that are going to have a lot of things that shake up because their careers suddenly get folded or the industry changes, and so there is a lot of that. So on one hand, there's luck, but there's also something to be weary of. Then the second half of the year, we have Jupiter in Gemini, which is going to bring I feel like a nice change of pace because we're going to be more social. We're going to have more opportunities to communicate. There's going to be a lot of new technologies that are coming out. There's going to be a lot of new social media apps, a lot of connection because of that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't want anyone to worry about 2024. Technically, I think it's a better year than the ones that we've been having, but each year has positives and negatives, just
Yep.
like, we think of our own lives.
Your
So,
whole life.
so there's that.
Well, this is fascinating, and again, it's just like that. I see this big curtain of astrology. So thank you, Kyle, for bringing your magic to the witching hour.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. And everybody, you guys, like him, follow him, sign up for his stuff. He's just friggin' amazing.
As
See
you
you
are.
later.
Yay.